Alright, I am back with another video, this time about Monster Hunter Wilds. I am somewhat nervous to make this video because as a new player to a franchise, that always comes with some level of not knowing many things. But I think that is kind of an important viewpoint all the same. And just the full extent of my Monster Hunter experience is essentially playing Worlds back whenever that came out for, I don't know, let's say 20 hours or so. Then I either got busy or I just sort of bounced off it a little bit as it wasn't quite my thing. But I am back all these years later for Monster Hunter Rise, which is now Capcom's most successful game of all time. 8 million copies sold in 3 days, which is crazy. And 90 Metascore, which is amazing. Probably a Game of the Year contender. And everybody's just kind of loving it, outside of some kind of PC optimization issues. Very quickly, I learned that there is no point to play this on mouse and keyboard, given all of the stuff you kind of have to manage at a time. That was a nightmare. You know, everyone's like, no, you don't play this on mouse and keyboard. So I plugged in my Xbox controller to my computer. I've already broken an Xbox controller playing this. I broke the LB button, which is like how you draw your items and stuff. And I am somewhere in the campaign in chapter 3. So one thing that everybody says here is that the whole campaign is more or less a tutorial for the game, sort of teaching you as you go. It like unlocks different, you know, advice and things about monster hunting. You face progressively harder monsters in time, which is no great surprise. You know, you learn about weapon crafting and armor crafting and upgrading and items and potions and, you know, all this stuff. And even then, I am still not fully understanding a lot of it here. I'm doing my best. In this video you're seeing where I'm refighting Ray Dow from earlier in the game, I know I'm doing many things wrong. I don't have, you know, my items set up in any meaningful capacity. I am mostly just whacking at it with my sword and shield. I am not great at perfect parries at this point. You know, that's something I can do in like Elden Ring or whatever, but I'm still adjusting to these giant monsters and their attacks, which I'm finding a little harder to keep up with when there's like a giant dragon that, you know, belly flops me or something. It's, you know, I'm learning how to deal with this, but I'm certainly not at a point yet. I'm doing, I don't know, pretty basic combos, pretty basic wound opening and stabbing and things. So, you know, bear with me here. I have gone through a number of different weapons so far, kind of testing them out. You start with longsword. I then switched over to bonk hammer, which was quite fun. You know, winding up these big swings and whacking things in the face. I did some amount of bow and arrow, you know, these tracer rounds that can track all your arrows to a specific location on a monster. But ultimately, I have landed on sword and shield right now, namely because I heard it is very good and fun. It is, in fact, very good and fun. You are very mobile, you can guard, you can do decent damage, you can slice, you can bash, you can do a whole lot of things. So I've certainly, you know, enjoyed this the most and had the most success with this so far. I have watched some strategy videos and kind of all these weapons to try and learn the basics here, and if you are a new player, I fully would recommend it. So, do I like Monster Hunter Wilds? Yes I do, quite a bit. You know, whatever may have not attracted me to Worlds all that time ago, I am so far really enjoying Wilds with some exceptions. The campaign is ass. I hate the campaign in terms of like the story of the campaign and the way it's set up and these kind of long winding gaps it makes you take between actual monster fights. It's just, I don't know, maybe this is valuable for like Monster Hunter lore people, but I'm just sort of wandering around to different tribes trying to reunite this kid with his tribe. I think there's been at least 2 runaway kids at this point, finding little forest Ewoks, and it's just, I don't find this really compelling in the least so far. The cool part of the campaign is when the monster cutscenes happen and the monsters fight either you or each other. There's a scene where one of your team members just whacks this monster with sea monster with her hammer, which is really good. There's like this big ghost wraith dragon thing that keeps eating all the other monsters. I'm sure I'm about to fight that in a little while here. Are there more than 3 chapters? Because like I just want to get to the end of this and get to the quote-unquote real game, as everyone says, but I am delaying a little bit because sometimes I'll go and refight monsters or do quests or things to at least build myself up with a little more power. I'm not 100% sure what I should be doing for power upgrades at this point. I feel like, you know, I've upgraded the current stuff I have as much as I can go, and the armor set and weapon I have I think are good for Sword and Shield right now. But you know, I know all of this kind of really kicks into gear at the end. I am playing solo. I know that eventually you generally want to do stuff in groups for some of these hunts, given how kind of crazy they are, but it feels like I'm still pretty far off from that. My hunter rank increasing is painfully slow here. I think I'm like 5 or 6. And, you know, I know people are like 75, 100, so clearly I have some time to go here. In terms of what I do like, the monster fights are very fun. There was a lot of creativity in these monsters, a lot of really interesting design choices here that I've enjoyed, you know, watching. Just the furry spider thing, the oil monster thing, the fire octopus. Sorry, some people think monsters are spoilers. I guess that's a thing in Monster Hunter, but I'm only showing Ray Dow here, so hopefully that's not too bad. And it is fun to kind of develop different strategies for these monsters. Sometimes use the environment. You probably saw me whiff an environmental move here if I haven't done it yet, maybe. And, you know, using different weaknesses and pods and traps and things, which I am not terribly good at right now. Kind of buffing yourself before battle with some amount of meals to max out health and stamina and do other things. I'm still using really basic meals at this point. But you can, you know, you see how it all comes together, and you see how kind of knowledgeable you're going to need to be and skillful for some of these higher level hunts. I do think I'm learning over time. I'm definitely doing better than I used to. Like, at worst, I might faint once during a fight. I just played the final boss of Chapter 2. I didn't die at all. You know, spamming potions and getting my little cat to heal me. Why do I have a little cat? I've never really understood this. Why is there a little cat following me around? Anyway, he's very cool. I upgraded him with armor where now he's a floating head in a jar, which I find very funny. I'm sure I'm supposed to be upgrading him in a more intelligent way, but it's mostly just how he looks. So yeah, monster fights are fun. Carving up the pieces of the monster. I know this wound mechanic is new for the series here, and I really enjoy that. I think opening up wounds and then kind of tracking those down as the monster spins around, grabbing them and destroying them. Sword and Shield has some pretty cool things where you can just rip a wound open instantly to blow it up, or you can use your heavy attack to, like, you know, rip it and then jump way up in the air and then do a slam for even more damage, although it might not fully destroy the wounds. Just some interesting options there. The upgrades I have here are, I think the main thing is like being good at mounting monsters, which I believe I'm doing more damage doing that with Sword and Shield, and my mounts always end up being pretty high damage. I'm not sure how to like mount on command or what it takes to do that at this point, but when I do mount, it's going really well, so I think that's pretty cool. I just really do want this campaign to be over. I do enjoy kind of running into new monsters over time, but I would like to get to the end game. Like, you know, a lot of these games like this, like Diablo doesn't start until you get to the end game. Path of Exile doesn't start until you get to the end game. I get it, but I feel like I enjoyed those campaigns more than I'm enjoying this one here, so it's not really as much of an issue. At least I don't have to make like multiple characters and beat the campaign multiple times. As far as I know, I don't think you have to do that, right? And you can still kind of change your weapons, change your armor on the fly to try out different things. At some point, I'm going to try to evolve past just Sword and Shield here. I know you can have a secondary weapon, which I haven't invested too much into yet. I think it's still my bow, but I need to check. I really like I liked Hammer. That was fun. And everybody has their own recommendations here. It's very funny because when you post about what you're using, you have like a ton of people being like, oh, use this, no, use this is my favorite, like this, and like it's all of them. Like, I very rarely not heard one of these suggested, implying to me that there is at least some level of balance and fun here, if not approachability perhaps, to a lot of these weapons. I know some of these weapons get really complicated in terms of their abilities and moveset and stuff, which I would say Sword of Shield and Hammer are not, certainly. But again, I'm okay using basic stuff here at the beginning. I you know, I've really enjoyed my time with this so far. This seems like a game I will try to invest in long term. I don't imagine it's going to get just way too hard for me or something. I think one of the complaints about this game is that it's almost too easy in some ways compared to past games, but I know that they add harder and harder monsters over time. And given that I know very little about this game, I wouldn't say I found it too easy so far, even though I'm not dying too much. And you know, I know this is the quote tutorial, so that will change over time. Can I recommend this to new players? Yeah, I think I can. I think one of the things that you kind of need to know is that, you know, this is a looter in some sense, but yet it's something that's going to require a good amount of patience, a good amount of perseverance, because this is not, you know, you're mowing down a bunch of normal enemies to work your way towards, you know, an end boss. The whole thing is the boss fight. It's just a boss fight in multiple stages of them running around. Sometimes there's smaller monsters around being annoying, but it is, you know, it's a hunt. That's the point, where you're tracking down one specific monster. You are exploiting its weaknesses, figuring out your own defense. And, you know, that can be somewhat exhausting given how long these hunts will eventually become. And I can see that type of thing not being for everyone. I don't think it was really for me back in Worlds, but that was a long time ago. And I'm finding myself maybe a little bit more open-minded to the idea now. So, yeah, I'm enjoying this. Maybe I'll make more videos. You know, you're not going to see, here's the perfect guide for max DPS on, you know, all these different weapons. It's going to kind of just be my impressions of how things are going. And, you know, I'm not about to be a Monster Hunter main or anything, but just to relay my own thoughts on it, I am enjoying it quite a bit, and I will be continuing with it for the indefinite future. So anyway, thank you for watching, and I will talk to you soon. Take care.